There comes a time when the roles between parents and children start to change. You spend decades raising them, guiding them, and sacrificing for them, only to wake up one day and realize that something has shifted. Maybe they ignore your advice, dismiss your opinions, or even treat you as if you're a burden. If you're feeling hurt, frustrated, or even angry, you are not alone. Many parents face this challenge as their children grow older, but demanding respect or getting into heated arguments rarely works. Instead, there is a more effective approach, one that allows you to regain your children's respect while maintaining your own dignity. In this video, we will explore 6 powerful strategies that will change the way your children see and treat you. These insights, combined with real-life stories and expert advice, will help you rebuild a healthier, more respectful relationship with your children. Stay with us until the end to learn how you can regain the place you deserve in their lives. Now let's get started. Number 1, stop chasing their approval, reclaiming your dignity as a parent. As parents age, one of the most common yet heartbreaking mistakes they make is striving too hard to gain the approval of their children. This desire is deeply rooted in love, but it often leads to a cycle of self-sacrifice that diminishes personal dignity and self-worth. Many parents, particularly in their later years, find themselves constantly saying yes when they truly want to say no. They stretch themselves thin, trying to accommodate their children's needs, suppress their own desires to avoid conflict, and mistakenly believe that by prioritizing their children's happiness above their own, they will secure a closer bond. But the harsh truth is this: the more you chase their approval, the less they respect you. Margaret was once a strong, independent woman, proud of the life she had built. She raised her children with discipline, love, and wisdom. However, as she aged, something changed. She became overly concerned with keeping her family close, even at the cost of her own well-being. She rearranged her life around their schedules, always accommodating their plans. If they asked her to babysit, she would cancel her own commitments. If they spoke to her in a dismissive or condescending tone, she stayed silent, afraid to disrupt the fragile sense of unity she so desperately wanted to maintain. "I just want to keep the family together," she would often tell her friends. But what was the result? Her children stopped valuing her. They assumed she would always adjust, always agree, and always be available. Instead of earning their love and appreciation, she lost her voice. They no longer saw her as a person with her own needs and desires. She became a mere extension of their own convenience. Margaret's story is not unique. Many parents fall into this trap, thinking that by becoming selfless, they will be cherished. But true love and respect don't come from sacrifice alone. They come from strength, boundaries, and self-respect. Why chasing approval backfires? When parents chase their children's approval, they unknowingly send a message that their own feelings, opinions, and needs are secondary. Over time, this dynamic can create several unintended consequences. Loss of personal dignity. By constantly seeking validation, parents erode their own sense of self-worth. They begin to believe that their value is tied solely to their children's happiness. Erosion of respect. Children, regardless of age, respect strength and independence. If they see a parent who always bends to their will, they may unconsciously take them for granted. One-sided relationships. Healthy relationships require balance. When a parent always gives and a child always takes, resentment can build on both sides. The parent may feel unappreciated, while the child may feel burdened by unrealistic expectations. Unhealthy family dynamics. Children who grow up seeing their parents constantly seeking approval may develop a sense of entitlement, believing that relationships revolve around their own needs rather than mutual respect and consideration. The good news is that it's never too late to change. Reclaiming your dignity and self-worth starts with small but firm steps. Here's how you can break free from the cycle of approval seeking and establish healthier relationships with your children. 1. Set boundaries and stick to them. Boundaries are essential in any relationship, including those between parents and children. Learn to say no when necessary. If your children expect you to drop everything for them, remind yourself that your time and commitments matter too. If they invite you over at the last minute, but you have other plans, don't cancel. If they expect financial help beyond what you can reasonably give, be honest and set limits. If they speak to you in a way that feels disrespectful, address it calmly but firmly. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you love them any less. It means you love yourself enough to maintain your own integrity. 2. Speak your mind without fear. Your voice matters. If your children make decisions that affect you, express your thoughts. Even if they don't always agree, they need to know that you have opinions, preferences, and values of your own. If they make plans that exclude you but you want to be involved, speak up. If they treat you dismissively, let them know how it makes you feel. If you disagree with something, share your perspective without fearing their reaction. When you stand firm in your beliefs, you teach your children that respect is a two-way street. 3. Prioritize your own happiness. Your life should not revolve entirely around your children. Engage in activities that bring you joy. Rekindle old hobbies, travel, volunteer, or build new social connections. Join a book club or take up a new skill. Plan outings with friends rather than waiting for family invitations. Treat yourself with the same kindness and consideration you give to others. A happy, fulfilled parent is a more respected and appreciated parent. When your children see you valuing your own life, they will learn to value you more. 4. Accept that you cannot control everything. One of the hardest truths to accept is that, no matter how much we love our children, we cannot control their feelings or actions. Seeking their approval is often rooted in a fear of losing connection, but genuine relationships aren't built on constant agreement. They are built on mutual understanding and respect. Sometimes letting go of the need for approval allows space for a more authentic, fulfilling connection to develop. Your role as a parent does not end when your children grow up. It simply evolves. But evolution does not mean erasing yourself for their sake. The most powerful gift you can give your children is the example of a strong, self-respecting individual who values their own worth. By setting boundaries, speaking your mind, prioritizing your happiness, and accepting what you cannot control, you reclaim your dignity and inspire your children to appreciate you, not just for what you do for them, but for who you are. Stop chasing their approval. Instead, chase a life that brings you fulfillment, respect, and inner peace. 2, lead by example, not by arguments. Parenting is one of the most challenging yet rewarding roles in life. As children grow, they begin to form their own opinions, often challenging the authority and wisdom of their parents. This is especially true when they reach adolescence and adulthood. Many parents find themselves caught in endless arguments, trying to prove a point or demand respect. However, one of the most valuable lessons in parenting and in life is that respect is not won through arguments, but earned through presence, action, and consistency. It is natural to feel frustrated when children dismiss their parents' advice or treat them with indifference. The instinctive response for many parents is to argue, to remind their children of all the sacrifices they have made, hoping that logic and guilt will make them listen. Unfortunately, this approach often backfires. Arguments create walls, not bridges. Instead of persuading, they push children further away. The key to earning respect is not in trying to convince others of your worth, but in demonstrating it through your actions. Children, regardless of age, are more influenced by what their parents do than what they say. They learn how to handle stress, conflict, and relationships by watching how their parents behave. If a parent reacts with anger and frustration, their children will likely adopt the same response mechanisms. Conversely, if a parent leads with patience, wisdom, and confidence, children will internalize those qualities. Frank had spent over 3 decades shaping young minds as a dedicated teacher. In the classroom, he was respected and admired. He had a natural ability to engage students, earn their trust, and guide them towards success. However, at home, things were different. His grown children seemed uninterested in his advice and often dismissed his opinions. They no longer saw him as the wise authority figure he had once been to them. At first, Frank reacted as many parents do. He argued. He reminded them of all he had done for them, how he had provided, sacrificed, and guided them through life. He demanded their respect, but the more he pushed, the more they resisted. Arguments escalated and meaningful conversations became rare. Then, one day, Frank had a realization. Respect could not be demanded. It had to be earned. Instead of insisting that his children listen to him, he decided to change his approach. He stopped arguing and started listening. He carried himself with quiet confidence and responded with wisdom rather than defensiveness. He let his actions speak louder than his words. Over time, his children noticed the change. He was no longer trying to control the conversation or prove a point. He simply lived his values. He showed patience, understanding, and strength in the way he handled situations. Slowly, their perspective of him shifted. They began to seek his advice, not because he forced them to listen, but because they respected the way he carried himself. Without a single argument, Frank had regained their respect. Practical steps to lead by example. 1. Stay calm in difficult conversations. When emotions run high, it is easy to become defensive or frustrated. However, composure is a powerful tool. If you remain calm, you set the tone for the conversation. Your children will take cues from you. If you handle disagreement with patience and dignity, they are more likely to engage respectfully. 2. Listen more than you speak. Often, people argue because they want to be heard, not necessarily because they want to prove a point. If you make a conscious effort to listen to your children's perspectives without immediately countering them, you show that you value their thoughts and opinions. This approach fosters mutual respect and encourages them to listen in return. But 3, show confidence in your actions. Respect comes from self-respect. If you second-guess yourself or constantly seek validation, your children may not take you seriously. Instead, demonstrate confidence in your decisions and actions. When you lead with assurance, others naturally follow. 4. Be consistent in your values. Children, even as adults, look to their parents for stability. If your words and actions are inconsistent, they will struggle to trust or respect your guidance. Stand firm in your values and demonstrate integrity in your daily life. 5. Practice humility and growth. Leading by example does not mean pretending to be perfect. In fact, acknowledging mistakes and showing a willingness to learn can be incredibly powerful. It teaches your children that growth is a lifelong process and that strength comes from adaptability. 6. Don't fight for respect. Embody it instead of demanding respect. Become a person who naturally commands it. Carry yourself with dignity. Treat others with kindness. Live a life that reflects your values. Over time, your children will recognize the depth of your wisdom, not because you forced them to, but because they have seen it in action. Children remember actions more than words. The way you respond to challenges, conflicts, and emotions shapes how they approach their own lives. If you show them that respect is something you give, as well as something you expect, they will internalize that lesson. Frank's story is a testament to the power of leading by example. Instead of pushing for recognition, he simply lived in a way that inspired respect. In doing so, he strengthened his bond with his children and regained the role of a trusted mentor in their lives. At the end of the day, the greatest legacy you can leave your children is not in the words you speak, but in the way you live. Respect is not something to be argued for, it is something to be earned through consistency, integrity, and presence. When you embody the values you wish to instill, you become a guiding light, not through force, but through the quiet power of example. Number 3, withdraw your emotional dependence. It is natural to love your children deeply, to want to be part of their lives, and to feel joy in their presence. However, relying on them for emotional fulfillment can create an unhealthy dynamic that ultimately strains the relationship. When children sense that their parents depend on them to feel valued or happy, they may begin to feel pressured, guilty, or even resentful. This shift in balance can lead to unintended emotional distance rather than the closeness you seek. Achieving emotional independence doesn't mean you love your children any less. Instead, it allows you to build a healthier, more fulfilling relationship with them. Here are some practical steps to help you withdraw your emotional dependence and find happiness within yourself. 1. Pursue hobbies that bring you joy. One of the best ways to cultivate emotional independence is to engage in activities that fulfill you, whether it's painting, gardening, writing, traveling, or learning a new skill. Having personal interests enriches your life and keeps you mentally and emotionally engaged. When you are passionate about something outside of your children, you create a sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on their attention or validation. 2. Expand your social circle. Loneliness can make emotional dependence on your children even stronger. To combat this, focus on building meaningful relationships with others. Reach out to old friends, join a club or community group, or participate in activities that connect you with like-minded individuals. Surrounding yourself with positive, supportive people helps provide emotional fulfillment and reduces the pressure on your children to be your sole source of happiness. 3. Let go of expectations. One of the most difficult but essential steps in becoming emotionally independent is letting go of expectations. Love your children unconditionally, but do not expect them to be the primary source of your happiness. Understand that they have their own lives, responsibilities, and challenges. Instead of feeling hurt when they don't call or visit as often as you would like, cherish the moments you do share with them and make those interactions meaningful. 4. Focus on self-care. Taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally is crucial for emotional independence. Exercise regularly, eat nourishing foods, practice mindfulness or meditation, and prioritize your mental well-being. When you feel good about yourself, you are less likely to seek external validation from your children or anyone else. But 5. Find purpose beyond parenthood. Parenthood is a significant part of life, but it should not define your entire identity. Find a sense of purpose outside of being a parent. Volunteer for a cause you care about. Mentor younger individuals, start a personal project, or explore spiritual growth. When you have a purpose beyond your children, you become more self-sufficient and emotionally resilient. 6. Embrace change with grace. Life is constantly changing and relationships evolve over time. Accept that your children will grow, change, and have different priorities at different stages of their lives. Instead of resisting these changes, embrace them with grace and adaptability. Find joy in witnessing their growth rather than mourning the past. 7. Celebrate your own life. You are a person with unique experiences, wisdom, and stories to share. Celebrate your own journey, achievements, and milestones. Recognize that your worth is not tied to how often your children call or visit, but in the fullness of the life you live every day. Give both yourself and them a beautiful gift: freedom. They are free to love you without guilt or obligation, and you are free to experience joy without relying on them to provide it. Helen's story is a powerful example of this transformation. When she stopped waiting by the phone and started living her own life, her relationship with her children improved naturally. They reached out to her more, not because they felt pressured, but because they genuinely enjoyed connecting with her. Emotional independence doesn't mean detachment. It means loving deeply while also maintaining your own sense of self. It means fostering healthy relationships based on love and mutual respect rather than neediness or expectation. By embracing this mindset, you not only strengthen your bond with your children, but you also rediscover the joy, peace, and fulfillment that come from within. Number 4, set boundaries and enforce them. If you allow your children, friends, or colleagues to treat you disrespectfully, they will continue to do so. Setting boundaries isn't about creating conflict, it's about teaching others how to treat you. Boundaries establish clear expectations and foster healthier relationships built on mutual respect. Why boundaries matter. Setting boundaries is essential for maintaining self-respect and emotional well-being. Many older adults, like Robert, find themselves in situations where their children, relatives, or even friends begin to disregard their opinions, assuming they no longer need to be heard. This isn't just an issue in family relationships, it happens in workplaces, friendships, and social circles as well. Boundaries are not about being controlling or selfish. They are about teaching others how you deserve to be treated. Without them, resentment builds, relationships become strained, and self-esteem suffers. How to set boundaries effectively. 1. Clearly define what is acceptable and what isn't. The first step in setting boundaries is deciding what behaviours you are willing to tolerate and which ones cross the line. Ask yourself, do I feel respected in this relationship? Are my needs and opinions valued? What actions or words make me feel uncomfortable or disregarded? Once you have clarity, communicate your expectations to others in a direct yet respectful manner. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, "I would appreciate it if you let me finish speaking before responding." 2. Follow through with consequences. Boundaries are only effective if they are enforced. If you set a rule but don't follow through with consequences, others will quickly learn that they can ignore your limits. For example, if someone constantly interrupts you, calmly stop talking until they acknowledge your request for respect. If a friend always asks for favors but never reciprocates, politely decline until they learn to appreciate the give and take of a balanced relationship. The key is consistency. If you waver, others will test your boundaries and continue the same behavior. 3. Stay calm but firm. Setting boundaries doesn't mean engaging in arguments or raising your voice. In fact, the more composed you are, the more effective your message will be. Speak with confidence and clarity. If someone reacts negatively, remain firm. Remember, enforcing boundaries is about your self-respect, not about pleasing others. 4. Don't feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. Many people, especially parents and caregivers, struggle with guilt when setting boundaries. They worry that saying no makes them selfish. But prioritizing your well-being is not selfish, it's necessary. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, not one-sided sacrifice. 5. Practice saying no. One of the most powerful tools in boundary setting is learning to say no without guilt or lengthy explanations. If you're uncomfortable with a request, respond with, "I appreciate you asking, but I can't commit to that. I need to prioritize my own needs right now. I'm not available for that, but I hope you find a solution." When you set and enforce boundaries, you'll notice a transformation in your relationships and overall well-being. Here's what you gain. Increased self-respect. You teach others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Healthier relationships. Mutual respect strengthens personal connections. Reduce stress and resentment. You prevent being taken for granted. Greater sense of control. You take charge of your emotional and mental space. Improved communication. Clear expectations lead to better understanding. Robert's story is a reminder that it's never too late to establish and enforce boundaries. Whether with family, friends, or colleagues, setting limits ensures that you are treated with the respect you deserve. If you've allowed others to overstep in the past, know that you have the power to change the dynamic. It might take time, and some people may resist at first, but in the end, those who truly value you will respect your boundaries. You are worthy of being heard, you are worthy of respect, and you have the right to set boundaries that protect your peace. Number 5, stop giving without appreciation. The power of healthy boundaries. Giving is a beautiful expression of love, especially within families. Parents often dedicate their time, resources, and emotions to their children, hoping to provide them with a better life. However, when generosity is met with entitlement rather than gratitude, it can lead to an unhealthy dynamic where love and care are taken for granted. Giving without appreciation does not foster respect. It cultivates expectation. Let's explore why setting boundaries in giving is crucial and how it can lead to healthier, more balanced relationships. Why giving without appreciation is harmful. 1. It breeds entitlement. When people receive help repeatedly without being expected to acknowledge or reciprocate it, they may start to believe they are owed that generosity. This leads to a mindset of entitlement rather than gratitude. 2. It drains the giver. Constant giving without appreciation can leave the giver feeling emotionally exhausted and unvalued. It can lead to resentment and a breakdown in relationships. 3. It prevents growth. If someone always has a safety net, they may never develop the skills to become independent. In George's case, his children never learned financial responsibility because they always relied on him to fix their problems. 4. It distorts relationship dynamics. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and appreciation. When one person constantly gives while the other only takes, the relationship becomes unbalanced and unhealthy. It's possible to be generous while still ensuring that your kindness is respected and valued. Here are a few strategies. 1. Only give when it is appreciated. Before offering help, assess whether it will be truly valued. If someone consistently takes your generosity for granted, consider taking a step back. Ask yourself, does this person recognize my efforts? Do they express gratitude? Would they do the same for me if the roles were reversed? If the answer is no, it may be time to reconsider how much you are giving. 2. Teach gratitude by setting limits. Gratitude is often learned, not automatic. If you always give without expecting appreciation, others may not realize the importance of saying thank you. Set limits by encouraging others to contribute in some way, even if it's just showing appreciation. Withholding help when it is not acknowledged. Teaching children early on that generosity should never be assumed. For example, instead of giving money every time your child asks, you can encourage them to work for it or express gratitude before receiving further support. 3. Recognize when giving is enabling bad behavior. Sometimes, excessive giving allows people to avoid personal responsibility. If someone is constantly relying on you for help without making an effort to improve their own situation, your generosity may be doing more harm than good. Ask yourself, is my giving helping this person grow, or is it keeping them dependent? Am I solving a temporary problem, or am I reinforcing a bad habit? In some cases, stepping back and letting people face the consequences of their actions is the best way to help them grow. 4. Communicate your boundaries clearly. If you've been giving freely for a long time, people may not understand why you're suddenly pulling back. Be clear about your reasons and communicate them with kindness. For example, George could say to his children, "I love you and I want to support you, but I also want you to appreciate what I do for you. I won't be able to help financially every time, but I'm happy to offer guidance and advice whenever you need it." This way, his children know he still cares, but they also understand that his generosity has limits. 5. Lead by example. Demonstrate gratitude in your own actions. Show appreciation for those who help you and encourage others to do the same. By modeling gratitude, you teach those around you to be more appreciative as well. When generosity is balanced with appreciation and respect, relationships become stronger and more meaningful. Giving should feel fulfilling, not draining. By setting healthy boundaries, you earn the respect of those around you, ensure that your generosity is truly valued, encourage responsibility and growth in others. Maintain your own emotional and financial well-being. Remember, love and generosity should never be one-sided. True kindness flourishes when it is met with appreciation. 6. Build a life outside of them. One of the most powerful ways to regain respect and strengthen your relationship with your children is to demonstrate that your happiness and fulfillment do not solely depend on them. As parents, it is natural to devote much of your life to your children, especially when they are young. However, as they grow into independent adults, maintaining a life that is rich and fulfilling outside of them becomes essential. Not only does this help you maintain your sense of self, but it also encourages a healthier, more respectful dynamic between you and your children. Eleanor had spent decades dedicated to her family. After her husband passed away, she poured all of her energy into her grown children, making them the center of her world. She would call them daily, offer unsolicited advice, and insist on being deeply involved in their lives. At first, she believed she was simply being a caring mother, but over time, she noticed her children becoming more distant. They responded less frequently to her messages and seemed to withdraw from her persistent attention. At first, Eleanor felt abandoned and confused. Hadn't she always been there for them? Why were they pulling away now when she needed them the most? After a heart-to-heart conversation with a close friend, she realized that she had placed too much emotional weight on her children, expecting them to fill the void left by her husband's passing. She recognized that she had lost touch with who she was outside of being a mother. Determined to change, Eleanor took a step back and started exploring interests that had long been on hold. She joined a local book club, something she had always wanted to do but never made time for. She also took up traveling, visiting places she and her late husband had once dreamed of seeing. Volunteering at a nearby community centre gave her a newfound sense of purpose, and she even took up painting, rediscovering a passion she had set aside decades ago. Something remarkable happened as she embraced her new life. Her children, who had once seemed distant, began to reach out more frequently. They admired her independence and respected her newfound enthusiasm for life. Conversations became more meaningful, and the dynamic between them shifted. She was no longer just a mother seeking validation, but a woman living her life to the fullest. Eleanor's journey serves as a testament to the power of self-reinvention and the importance of nurturing one's own identity beyond parenthood. When parents make their entire world revolve around their children, it can unintentionally create pressure. Children may feel guilty for not being able to meet their parents' emotional needs, leading them to withdraw or create distance. On the other hand, when parents have their own fulfilling lives, it removes that pressure and allows relationships to flourish naturally. Independence fosters respect, and when children see their parents leading vibrant, engaged lives, they admire them rather than feel burdened by them. How to cultivate a life beyond parenthood? If you've spent years focusing solely on your children, you might wonder how to begin building a fulfilling life outside of them. Here are some steps to consider. 1. Rediscover old passions. Think back to the activities that once brought you joy before parenthood took center stage. Did you love painting, playing an instrument, gardening, or writing? Revisit those passions and allow yourself the space to enjoy them again. 2. Develop new interests. Learning something new keeps the mind engaged and provides a sense of accomplishment. Consider taking a class, learning a new language, or picking up a hobby like photography or cooking. 3. Build a strong social network. Friendships are crucial at every stage of life. Reconnect with old friends or make new ones by joining clubs, attending community events, or participating in group activities. Having a strong social network can provide support and companionship beyond your children. 4. Travel and explore. If circumstances allow, traveling can be an excellent way to broaden your horizons and gain fresh perspectives. Whether it's a solo trip, a group tour, or visiting places you've always wanted to see, exploring new environments can be incredibly enriching. 5. Volunteer and give back. Giving your time to a cause you care about can be deeply rewarding, whether it's mentoring young people, helping at an animal shelter, or participating in community service. Contributing to a larger purpose can bring fulfillment and meaning to your life. 6. Prioritize self-care. Your well-being matters. Engage in activities that promote physical, mental, and emotional health. This could include regular exercise, meditation, journaling, or simply taking time to relax and do what makes you happy. Eleanor's story highlights a powerful truth. When you cultivate a fulfilling life of your own, your relationships with others, including your children, improve naturally. Instead of clinging to them for your sense of purpose, you demonstrate that happiness is something you can create for yourself. Remember, cultivate interests that excite you. Prioritize your personal growth. Live your life to the fullest. By embracing these principles, you not only regain respect, but also inspire your children to lead their own independent and fulfilling lives. In doing so, you strengthen your bond with them, not through dependency, but through mutual admiration and understanding. Respect is not something that can be forced upon others. It is cultivated through the way we carry ourselves, the boundaries we set, and the way we value our own well-being. When we respect ourselves, we naturally teach others how to treat us. By setting healthy boundaries, we communicate what is acceptable and what is not, creating relationships built on mutual understanding. And when we focus on living a fulfilling life, pursuing passions, maintaining personal integrity, and prioritizing self-care, we inspire respect from those around us. Earning respect is a journey, not a destination. It requires self-awareness, consistency, and a willingness to walk away from situations that do not honor our worth. As we navigate life, our ability to command respect will grow in proportion to the respect we show ourselves. Which of these strategies do you find most valuable? Will you start by setting firmer boundaries, practicing self-care, or building self-respect? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Golden Years Balance for more wisdom on living a healthy, fulfilling life in your golden years. Let's continue this journey together.